What is up? Travis here, Kerr Family Flip Show. So today I'm out and about trying to do some sourcing at some thrift stores. It is cold outside. We just had, most of our major holidays here in the cold season. So yard sales, even estate sales, are somewhat few and far between right now. So I'm trying to do some supplemental sourcing at thrift stores, and I've been doing this about every Saturday morning for the past maybe 4 weeks or so, where I'll get up and try to hit 4 thrift stores or so, just to kind of supplement some things while we wait for yard sale season to pick back up. And I really haven't felt like getting up at 5 a.m. to go stand in line at a bin store, with it, 18 degrees outside. So we're going to see how we can do today. If you haven't seen this channel before, we're a family of resellers, and we buy things at various sources: yard sales, flea markets, estate sales, anywhere that we can find something low and then flip it online for a profit. And so our mission is to show other people how to do this. If you want to do it for yourself, or like I've said before, just want to watch me make a fool out of myself. So anyway, we're going to see how we do today. I'll take you inside with me and I'll show you what we look for. Pop over to the electronics section because that's the first thing you see when you walk in. So there's this VCR DVD combo, which is something I normally would pick up, but I can't remember if it was overpriced or it didn't sell well, so I left that. There's a bread maker there. Generally, those are not worth picking up. Every once in a while, you'll find the right brand. That was not it. Look down here at the scroll saw, which we've actually sold a scroll saw before, but I think that one was a little pricey and didn't have a tremendous sell-through. There's a Flex Brew, and then there's a Mr. Coffee Cafe Barista. I ended up picking up both of those, and I'll show you that a little bit later, but both of those actually part out really well, and I'll show you what I'm talking about. And then there's a inflator for, I guess, inflatables, and that was $75. Those actually do really well, but not at $75, just a little too expensive, so did pass on that. Always look at Christmas items, and so not a whole lot going on here, but up here is a Kirkland snow globe, and it was $9.99. These actually still do really well, even after Christmas, so I ended up picking that up, and I'll show you that in a little bit more detail later. Next, I'll pop over to toys, and I'm really looking for anything that just catches my eye, particularly vintage toys, and anything that looks interesting that I haven't seen before. I may comp it out and see if it's worth anything. So not a whole lot going on here. I did see these sealed puzzles, and this was a Grand Budapest Hotel puzzles, and there were a couple of those which I thought were interesting, but just didn't have a good enough sell-through. Maybe should have checked with Cam to see if he could have sold those on Amazon, but I just left those because they really didn't seem to have a ton of demand there, but they were sealed, so I thought it might be worth a shot. And then I always check out the golf clubs. Most of the time, you're not going to find a ton. These are mainly off-brands. Now, I do see these girls clubs, and sometimes with off-brands, you can still do well if you can put together a set. So that one just didn't have the greatest sell-through, and it might have been missing some clubs as well, so I did just decide to leave those. This Goodwill does have a tiny little section of men's shoes, so I did decide to check it out. And those look like Mizuno. I think those are actually volleyball shoes, if I'm not mistaken. These Ultras would have been good, but they were, you can't really tell from the video, but they were not in good shape at all, so I did leave those. Now, I did catch that these were Legions by GH Bass, and those are made in the USA, and those were in really good shape, so I did decide to keep those, and I'll show you those a little bit later. I then head to checkout, and I did catch that under this glass was a Wings of Fire book set, so I did end up picking that up on this trip. So at Goodwill number 2, I picked up 5 items at the last Goodwill, which I'll show you in a little bit, but this Goodwill is always so busy. Ended up having to park out here in Narnia to get in here, but Although this Goodwill is super busy, you're always wondering like, how are you going to find anything? But I normally do pretty decent in here, so we'll take a trip inside and see how we do. Again, first stop in this Goodwill was over at the electronics section. I look around, there's this Sony boombox, not really worth picking up. And then I see this JVC VCR, and I think it's like $4 or $5. So I did end up picking that up, even though it didn't have the cord. So I think we'll do okay with that, but nothing else really major in that. So I came over to the kitchen appliance section. There is a Soda Stream, which those can actually do okay, but that one was priced pretty much at what you would buy it for on eBay. Nothing else major there. I did find this New Wave oven with the amber dome, $7.99, which is definitely worth picking up because the dome will sell for $40, sometimes upwards of $50. And then I found this convection cooktop, and it was only like $3.99 or $4.99, so I did pick that up. Next, I head over to the shoes. I thought these were pretty interesting. They had a neat colorway, but were in terrible shape. And so I just kind of perused through the women's shoes first and didn't really see a lot worth picking up there. So head over down to the men's shoes. Again, not a lot going on there. I did find these Mizunos. I thought they would be better than they were, but they just did not have a good sell-through. And then I did continue to kind of look through the men's dress shoes to see if I could maybe find some like Allen Edmonds, or some of the newer model Cole Haans are normally pretty good, or sometimes golf shoes will do well, but nothing really hitting today. So out of Goodwill number 2, I picked up 3 more items, which is good because my goal is typically to find at least 3 items that we can resell at each Goodwill. And again, I don't know why I've chosen 3, but it just seems like a pretty reasonable number. And it also shows you how much we pass on. Like, I think sometimes these videos from myself and other resellers just shows that we buy every single thing, and every time we go somewhere we find something. Sometimes I find nothing, pass over dozens and dozens of items, and but normally can find a way to pick up 3 or 4 items, and sometimes you get lucky and find like 15 things. I'm going to pick up Perry at basketball. I'm sure he's going to be pumped about going to a couple thrift stores with me. And then so I'm going to grab him at basketball, and then we'll go to another couple stores and see how we do, and I'll show you what we got at the end. So first thing that I check out are some of these kitchen appliances, and I found this Tiger rice cooker, and I thought it just looked interesting. It has some kind of floral design on it, and I like things that are in the box because a lot of times those items are taken care of a little bit better than others. This was $12, and I do end up picking this up, and it's actually a really good find, and I'll show you that a little bit later. This Bunn coffee maker has been here forever. It's in really good shape, except it doesn't have the carafe, which takes away almost all of the value that it would be to buy that, and they've actually reduced the price, but again, without the carafe, it's just not worth picking up. And so I continue to look through here. There's a puzzle, but the second you see like TJ Maxx on it, chances are it was a wholesale item that not always, but most of the time is probably not going to be worth picking up. I found this Snack Master Deluxe down here, and I can't remember exactly how much this was, but I ended up not buying that. I don't think it had the greatest sell-through. And then the one thing that did catch my eye is this Champion juicer, but at $45 it's just not worth picking up, and I'm not sure all the parts are there or not. Champion's actually a really good juicer brand to be on the lookout for, and so I just kind of continue to peruse through these electronics / toys section, and not seeing a whole lot here. This keyboard did catch my eye. A lot of times the smaller keyboards are the ones that will do better than some of the larger keyboards, especially if they're sampling keyboards. That one was either overpriced or just didn't have much of a sell-through. This was a Rocketfish speaker of some sort, which can actually do really well, but again, I don't think all the parts were there, and it might have been a little pricey for me to pick up. So I do continue to look through here. This looks like some kind of Yamaha subwoofer or amp that I did not end up buying, and I'm not sure what happens to my camera here. It goes all haywire, but there's a little boom box there. But right beside of it, I did notice this typewriter, and believe it or not, this thing was actually really, really good. And so I did comp that out for $10. I picked that up, and so that was one of my keepers. Next up, head over to the shoe section, and so I'm perusing through here, not seeing a lot, but one thing that did catch my eye, and these actually look pretty cheap shoes, but the OOFOS logo caught my eye, and I ended up comping those. And as bad as those look, there's actually ended up being really, really good. So I did pick those up. I think shoes here at this Goodwill are like $4.99 or $5.99. Also found these Air Maxes, and they were stained on the front. Otherwise, they were in excellent condition, and I felt like I could probably get those stains out. So I did end up picking those up. So Goodwill number 3, picked up 3 more items, gets me to 12 items on the day, so I'm ahead of pace. Would normally like to be around 3 items per store. I've got my extra special guest Perry here, just came from basketball. Perry, what do you think of the last Goodwill?
I didn't go in.
Yeah, exactly. So he was, as I said earlier, I knew he was going to be super pumped about thrifting with the old man, and since I picked him up from basketball, we've made 1 stop for an errand and 1 stop at Goodwill, and he's yet to get out. So basketball must have tired him out today. So I'm at the last Goodwill and just looking around, and I found several things that I haven't filmed today, so I'll give you a full breakdown here momentarily. But I come around the corner, and the only thing that really caught my eye is I'm about to show you is this Mr. Christmas ski slope. This is actually a really, really good find. I've purchased this before, so definitely stay tuned, and I'll give you a breakdown about how this vintage Christmas ski slope pays off. So I'm back at the house. It's the next day, so let's check out some of the things that I found yesterday out thrifting. First thing up is this Brother typewriter, and a lot of typewriters are not worth it at all. But anytime you see Brother, you should at least look it up, because this was only $10. And I don't know why people still use these or why they're in demand, but this GX6750 had 152 listings. So the first thing that you think about is, well, that's probably not worth it. But it had 350 sales over the last 90 days, which tells you this is in very high demand. So these are selling, if this works, and we'll test it out, we'll probably sell for in the $70 to $80 range, believe it or not, even though it has kind of turned yellow, just based off of age, but hopefully this will still work. Next thing up, I did pay up a little bit for, but this is probably the 4th or 5th time that I've sold this Wings of Fire book set. And this was under the counter. You may have seen it in the footage. And it was $9.99, but based off of experience, I know this set will sell quickly. If I'm patient, it could command up to $50 for this set if it's in pretty good shape, and it looks like it's barely been touched. So I think we'll do pretty well with that. The next items up are this Copper Chef induction cooktop. So you generally need like some kind of cast iron or a heavy-duty stainless like magnetic steel in order to use an induction cooktop. But I've never bought this one before, Copper Chef. It was only $4.99. This probably will sell for like $35 to $40 plus shipping. So for $4.99, I thought that was a pretty good deal, and it had a decent sell-through as well. Next up is Mr. Coffee Cafe Barista. I've got to make an assessment here. These actually sell pretty well altogether, but sometimes you can make more parting these out and fairly quickly. So like this piece right here will probably sell for like $35. And then this piece on the back, this reservoir back here, will also probably sell for like $35 as well. So I just need to inspect that and kind of make an assessment there. But minimally $70 in total sales, or maybe more, because some of these other items don't sell as quick as the reservoirs, but they will sell for like, $10, $15 or so. So for $9.99, that's a get all day long. Is it January? Yes. Did I buy Christmas items today? I did. And I'll tell you why. Because I buy Christmas items all year long if it's the right item, especially if I see Department 56 and it's priced reasonably. Mr. Christmas is an extremely good brand to be on the lookout for, especially the older items. I believe Mr. Christmas has started mass producing and selling in some of your major department stores, but for the most part, anything with that Mr. Christmas branding is probably going to be pretty good. This is the second time that I've actually found this gem right here. I bought this same one last year or the year before last, and it sold super fast. Believe it or not, this Santa ski slope wraps around the tree, and it has little skiers that slide down. If this thing's complete, and I haven't opened it yet, but even if it's not, I'll still do really well. It will sell for anywhere from $150 to $300. It is just a really, really good find. That was the last Goodwill that I went in, and I'm so glad I went in there. And it's the only thing I bought in that last Goodwill that I went in. But even if it's not complete, even if it's parted out, you're still talking really good money with this find. So I will open it up, make sure it's complete, or test it out, and then make some assessments from there. Also, believe it or not, this Kirkland signature which I believe is Costco. These things do really well as well. Now, this one is not going to have as high demand as this Mr. Christmas, vintage deal, but this sold very well over the holidays for probably around $80 or so. I paid $9.99 for this. Not scared to wait on this. I may price it down just because obviously we've got another 7-8 months before the holiday season starts to pick back up. But anyway, I was super happy with these two Christmas finds. Next up, a couple bread and butter items. New Wave. Anytime I see these and they are reasonably priced, under probably $12 or so, I will pick them up. This is $8, and these amber domes sell really well. Probably on the high side for around $50. These motors, as long as they work, and I'll test it out, they do sell. They take longer to sell. This will sell really quickly. This will take a little bit of time to sell, but they still sell for $30, $40. So, you got to think if you can turn this into $70, $80 for a $7.99 purchase, makes these very attractive to pick up whenever they're reasonably priced. Next up is this JVC VCR. Again, it was hard not to pick up for $3.99. If it was priced high, I probably wouldn't have grabbed it. It has a decent sell-through. This is probably a $30 to $40 VCR plus shipping. It didn't have a cord with it, but any resellers out there, or if you get into this, you will get an accumulation of cords. I know that I'll have this, and then we'll be able to test this out just to make sure it works. So, for $4, if we can turn it into $40, $50, or $30 to $40, is certainly worth it. The next two items that I picked up today are this Tiger rice cooker warmer, which is crazy, and I'll tell you about it in a second. And I got these Air Maxes at the same Goodwill, actually, and I believe Lainey wants to keep these. So I have already spray and washed the tops, but these are in mint condition. If it wasn't for that, and I'm thinking this is going to come out just based off of experience. So these will probably be keepers for Lainey, but these are $5.99, and if she doesn't want them, they'll probably sell for $45, $50 if this comes out. If it doesn't, you're probably looking at like $25, $30. And then this rice cooker, and I don't know who wants a designer rice cooker because, I just care about it getting the job done, but apparently people do. And this flower design rice cooker by Tiger, and I'm not sure because I do remember the handheld video games from when I was a kid, and the 80s, they was Tiger Electronics. I'm not sure if they have any affiliation, but this is made in Japan, and there is a new one of these that sold for $180, and there's listings I think for over $200. There's two used ones listed at $120 a piece, and then there's one used sell for like $70. So if this works and it's complete, and I'll test it out and make sure, a really good find for $12. So generally wouldn't just pick up any rice cooker, but this one just caught my eye. I decided to look it up, and I think it's certainly going to be a pretty good find. Next are two more pairs of shoes, and these are actually Weejuns by G.H. Bass. They're made in the USA. Anytime I see the Weejuns name, I don't even comp them. I pick them up, and they normally sell within a couple weeks. So I'm thinking these are probably most of the ones that I've bought in the past have been loafers of some sort. These are lace-ups, so I don't know if they'll carry more or less value, but probably minimally in this condition, especially with the size being, I believe, a 10, which is a super good size to find, and this condition, I'm thinking probably $40 to $50 for these. And so anytime, like I said, I see the name Weejuns, I know that it's worth picking up. These, if you just pass by these and you weren't really paying attention, you would probably think this is some kind of cheapo brand of shoe, and then you would just keep walking. And I almost did the same thing, and then I just happened to catch this logo back here and knew that these were OOFOS, and I may be sabotaging the name, but it's like OOFOS, and so I decided to look these up, and these things have a crazy sell-through, and even used, these things sell for like $60-$70. So if I can get the bottoms cleaned up with maybe some magic eraser and get that in a little bit more of a white condition, I think that these are going to do pretty good, especially if I can get the bottoms cleaned as well, which is not going to really take a ton of effort. And even if I don't, I mean, you're looking at $40-$50 for these. So again, always be on the lookout. If you can find this brand, OOFOS, then they're definitely worth at least looking up. And these were $5.99, as were these. Next up is this Hamilton Beach Flex Brew, and I very, very seldom buy anything Hamilton Beach. Not because there's anything wrong with it per se, it's just on the lower end of the brands, and so typically it's not, always the best resale brand, but this particular one has a really good sell-through rate for parts. So I'm going to experiment with this. I may not make a ton of money on this. I did pay up for this a bit, $13.99, but we see these a lot, so I'm going to take an experiment and just see how well these parts sell out. So it's got this, this piece sells really well. This lid actually I see selling a lot. I saw this lid selling a lot. It has this piece right here, which sells, and then it has this piece up here, which comes out as well. And also, of course, the Kerr, which these metal ones I don't know that they resell as well as the glass, because the glass ones people drop and break, but it'll definitely be, listed. So I'm thinking that based off of what I'm seeing, it's going to be a little bit more worth, but maybe $70-$80 out of those. So we see, like I said, we see these a lot out there. So let's see how well this one does, and then it'll kind of give me an idea if I should start picking these up, in the future. So that was my day out thrifting. So to sum it all up, I probably spent around $125 today, give or take. And just roughly, I think that the gross sales overall for this lot will probably be around $800 if everything tests out and things of that nature. So, that's a gross profit of around $675 just out and about thrifting at 4 thrift stores on a Saturday morning. And you can a lot of times get out, and if you have your route plan, then you can get back, sometimes before lunch. For that time investment is something to certainly consider if you do need some outside income, or you just want to do it for fun or for a hobby, or do something as a family. Just get out there and try it. Like I said, if we can do it, you can certainly do it as well. So anyway, hope you enjoyed, and hope to hear about your next thrifting adventure as well.